They have the president of the European Commission, which is probably the most powerful person in the European Union, who spent her private holidays with Prime Minister Mitsotakis, which, okay, she's free to choose her friends, that is not a crime, but she cannot, in my view, separate her private friendships, let's say, from the scrutiny role that the European Commission has over the rule of law in the member states. I suppose it began to become clear when we started to investigate the spyware scandal. And then, as we were discovering more or getting a more complete picture, we also started to realize that there were many other problems. And we had already started to look into Greece before that. There was the case of prosecutor Touloupaiki, who was also intimidated and harassed because she was investigating corruption. So there was already, we already had a feeling like things are not going so well. There were a couple of issues, but then the picture became really very alarming when we started to investigate the spyware scandal. The problem is that by now it is so systemic, it is so all-pervasive that you cannot just say, okay, do this or do that. I mean, we see the same in Poland, for example, where there's a new government now since 2 months, and they have to restore the rule of law. But it turns out that's very difficult. And we see in Greece, we see corruption, we see that the independence of the judiciary and the prosecution has been affected. We see that the independent oversight bodies have been captured. We see the use of spyware. So it's so all-pervasive that is media freedom is another one. All the normal checks and balances have basically been weakened or eliminated, and to rebuild that takes time. It's not a matter of one measure and then everything will be fine. You really need to rebuild the whole fabric of the democratic rule of law. Poland, the new government has only been in place for 2 months, but I'm fairly confident that they will take very meaningful steps in the right direction. Yes, they're very committed to the rule of law. There are some people like the Minister of Justice who is really excellent, very good. Malta is the problem in Malta is, and maybe it's comparable to Greece, is that all the institutions are there. But are they independent? Are they efficient? No, that's the problem. And I think in Malta we still haven't seen full justice because, yes, the killers of Daphne Caruana Galizia are now behind bars, but the mastermind is not. And all the cases that Daphne Caruana Galizia was investigating, corruption and crime, have not led to convictions. So, no, I think Malta, and there seems to be some backsliding in Malta as well. So I'm still worried about Malta. Well, I think the European Parliament is vocal. We've just adopted 2 weeks ago, or this is 1 week ago, a resolution on the rule of law and media freedom in Greece. But the European Commission is pretending to be completely blind. The European Council, of course, doesn't say anything because they don't care about the rule of law. And what is very striking is how the EPP group, so the political family that Nea Demokratia belongs to, is protecting Nea Demokratia and Mitsotakis no matter what they do. And we saw that at the time with Viktor Orban. They were protecting him as well, but not even as passionately as they are now protecting Mitsotakis. But I think in EPP, there's a growing number of people, wondering what is going on, because you shouldn't underestimate that there is a language barrier. People are, they have to rely on their party friends to get information about the situation, and people are not very well informed. And why is this party family relevant? Because they have they have a lot of key positions. They have the president of the European Commission, which is probably the most powerful person in the European Union, who spent her private holidays with Prime Minister Mitsotakis. Which, okay, she's free to choose her friends, that is not a crime, but she cannot, in my view, separate her private friendships, let's say, from the scrutiny role that the European Commission has over the rule of law in the member states. I have also been calling on Roberta Metsola, the president of this house, who's always been extremely vocal about the rule of law, and who was very vocal in Malta, because she's from Malta, before the murder of Daphne Caruana Galizia. She was asking the European Parliament to stand by the Maltese people. And then Daphne Caruana Galizia got murdered, and Roberta Metsola was really one of the driving forces behind, the European Parliament going to Malta, monitoring, etc. I would expect the same commitment when it's about other countries. Yes, we did the same in the case of Slovakia. Why aren't we doing the same in the case of Greece?
And is your explanation that this is because of the personal ties and friendship that she has to Kyriakos
Yes, they're clearly. Well, it's not just Mitsotakis. It's of course it's a whole party family, and I can understand. Of course they're friends. That is not a crime in itself, but principles and values should be more important than party friendships. I could make that a very long answer. Look, I love the country, I love the people, and I'm fortunate enough to have some understanding of the language, which allows me to follow a little bit what's going on. And okay, I'll be very honest. I feel pain for the Greek people. First of all, because corruption and crime in government circles. It's always the small people that pay the price. We have today been talking about Tempe and the victims, but I've also seen what happened last year with the forest fires, with the floods. We've seen with schools collapsing. I mean, there are so many problems. It's always the small people paying the price. And I've been here long enough to remember the financial crisis and the remedy that was imposed on Greece. And I think, although there were some very serious problems, the remedy probably did even more damage. And again, it was the small people that paid the price. And it wasn't just, you can blame the European Union, but also blame the governments at the time who messed up public finance, who were corrupt, who made sure that as soon as the financial crisis erupted, that they siphoned off their money to Switzerland. So I think when you're fighting for the rule of law and against corruption, it's not something abstract. It's for the people. It's for the small people, for the normal people, the vulnerable people who cannot defend themselves. That is why we have the rule of law, and that is what drives me, because I think Greek people deserve that just like anybody else.